It's going to be good. It's going to be good. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about the frequency of emotions, and the map of consciousness. And the emotions are on a continuum, on a sliding scale. And your emotions are one of the most primary forces in your vibrational being that affect your dominant frequency. I like to think of the emotions as the power, turning the power on. Say you have an intention, but if you have no emotion behind that intention, the intention's pretty weak. It's just a little fluctuation in voltage. But when you build emotion behind it, now you're increasing the amperage, if that makes sense. So, another way to say that is it's increasing the volume of flow of energy. Instead of just a tiny little tube that's pushing out water like a straw, you're getting a fire hose. And that emotion is opening up the volume to give more juice to what you're doing. Now, your emotions can work for you or they can work against you. That's all perspective. But your emotions can be conducive to your growth or debilitating. So, we're going to jump into that. Before we do that, let's just take a couple breaths, all right? Sorry, I have something in my eye. Hair or something. Let's take a couple breaths. We're going to hit the vibration. We're going to clear the space with the frequency. And I just want you to settle in. Come hang out with me for a minute. We're going to talk about this. Maybe we'll learn something new together. Maybe you'll pick up an idea that you can use in your consciousness, in your mind, and in your life. And all it takes is one idea to really turn everything around and get things going in a new direction for you. So with that, let's go ahead and begin, shall we? This is good to center myself too. I get excited. I like being here talking to you guys. But you gotta slow down sometimes. To let the information, inspiration, divine activation come through. So, take a deep breath. One more. It's good. It's good. So, let's jump into this. I'm excited. All right. I have some diagrams to show you. Maybe I'll draw some stuff. Maybe I won't because I have the diagrams or the pictures. We will see. So, in a previous video, I actually drew it out. Here, let's see if we can find it. Check out the other videos. What's up? Check out the other videos in the 30-day video challenge series to get updated on where we're at. But I feel like I drew this. I started to. Yeah, right there. So frequency scale of emotions, right? I was just referencing this. And then I was kind of thinking of what to make this video about, looking through some of my ideas, and then I saw that. And that is just... more needs to be dedicated to this topic because it is so powerful, but also lucrative is the word I'm looking for. It is lucrative in your growth. This is an opportunity for you right here to understand the frequency scale of emotions, aka the map of consciousness, created by Dr. David Hawkins. And this man was a psychologist, psychiatrist, and a spiritual teacher. He wrote a few different books. And I read his book, The Power of Letting Go. But after I just was kind of looking at some different pictures, and I'll go ahead and show you these pictures in just a second. But I was looking at these pictures that I had collected and kind of looking into them, and then we're going to dive into it more. I just briefly glanced at it. So when you see this in a second, we're going to really dive in. But at the end of the day, or for this video, it's just an introduction, because this concept goes so deep and you can apply it in so many different ways, and there's so much to talk about, because this is the map of consciousness. This is the entire scale of your emotions, which affect every part of your life and your experience. So this is too big for one video. But we're really going to give you the outline of it, the overview, and hopefully some good takeaways and good ideas that you can apply to your life. And then we'll dive more into it. But upon looking at these images, which I will about to show you, I really just noticed that I need to learn more. Actually, I don't need to do anything, but I want to learn more. I have the desire to learn more. So I'm going to order his 2 other books. He probably has more than that, but those are the ones that I had in my list. And it's the book, The Map of Consciousness Explained, and then Power versus Force. And I just feel that once I get a better grasp of those concepts, I'll be able to teach more effectively to help people with their vibrational frequency, because your emotions and your frequency is so hand in hand, right? And so this channel path tune, and this path that I'm on, this channel is all about how to change your vibrational frequency and to align it to your highest potential, your highest life path, which is the being aligned with your core soul frequency and your higher mind, your higher self. So there's so much to that, and I'm always learning, and I'm always looking to keep learning. So I'm excited to get those books. But let's jump into this, shall we? Let's do it. So this one is nice because it shows the spiral, and I think that is a clear, a good distinction to make, because if we go to other ones, you'll notice how there's no spirals, right? So I wanted to start with this one because, and hopefully you can read those. It's not the best resolution, but the spiral is important. Also, wanted to make a note real quick. I spoke about time. I drew time and I mentioned how it's more circular in a past video. And wanted to clarify, I was just drawing in 2D. Time is more of a spiral rather than a circle. Just wanted to say that. Definitely more of a circle than a line, but more of a spiral than a circle, from what I understand. All right, so let's go into this. So most things are a spiral. This universe, this solar system is a spiral. It's spiraling through the universe. It's not just the sun and everything is going around it staying stationary. That's happening while everything is spiraling. If you've seen that video, right? Should I pull that up too? We'll see. Okay, just because it's cool. All right, we'll do it later. All right, so emotional spiral, ascending, descending, and then we have emotions. We got emotions over here on the left. Oh man, no will to live. And this is probably, strong will to live. And our will to live is one of the most powerful forces in the body. And so a sense of purpose and something you can give meaning out of is crucial, especially when you're getting into your older years. Older is relative, but when you're getting up there, and say you're retired and you're just at home all the time and just consuming content, watching TV, your sense of purpose in the community can dwindle. And this is more in Western society, but in other cultures, they don't look at elderly individuals the same way as we do in Western culture, and they still remain part of the community, and they still are very active in many different cultures. And so that's just a side note. The will to live, having a connection to the community, having some sort of purpose in what you're doing besides just consuming content. Even if you're looking to create something or build something or learn something, it's like all of those you can get a sense of purpose from that. But if you're just consuming content and watching TV all day, I mean, I just feel kind of sad and depressed just thinking about that. You know? And there's options. You can do things, but it's just, if you work for many years and then it's like you know what you know, you have the habits, and then you finally don't have to work, and then if you don't take the initiative yourself to like really just transform your life after that point, then I can see how it's very easy just to start relaxing every day and then start just chilling out and not doing much. But, slowly in the back door comes this void of purpose. So maybe we'll do more videos on that in the future. Anyway, oh, look at that. Boredom. So let's just look at this for a second. This is really, there's so much information in here. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next one. All right. So let's start down at the bottom. We have a duality, right? Everything's with the duality here. Fear. Oh man, that's a good note. It's not, this is an idea. It's not love and hate, right? Because opposites, we would think that it's love and hate, but it's not. From what I've learned, it is love and fear. Because hate is a derivative of fear. And that is something to explain in a future video. So we will write that down. And we will say, how is hate a derivative of fear? Cool. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into this. So we have fear, right? And we have love. So those are the two ends of the spectrum. And there's many different renditions of this, but it's all about frequency. And so that's where on this bar we have the energetic frequency labeled. And then they have the dimensions mapped out there, which is kind of interesting. I have not seen that side by side with this. And I love how they have the states of consciousness there too. This is awesome. And have you heard about how like heaven and hell are a state of mind? We got hell right there. heaven right there. So cool. There's so much in this. So that's just okay. I'm just trying to figure out how. Oh, you couldn't see that. Sorry about that. We'll go back. So this one has dimensions, and we have hell at the bottom, heaven, states of consciousness right there. All right. Sorry you weren't seeing that. And then right here in this column is the energetic frequency of these emotions. So there's a lot in this chart. Let's browse to the other ones. Maybe it's a little more simple, so I can start with oh, that's cool. Start with a little bit more. Okay. So as you can see in this one, and right behind my face is the word enlightenment. Just so you know. There's joy and enlightenment. Right there. Everything's reversed. Right there's joy, and then right here is enlightenment. That's funny. Okay. So shame, right? Shame is one of the lowest frequencies you can feel. And when our body, through our emotions, when our body is subject to these frequencies that affect our entire electromagnetic field and our entire core vibrational frequency, as it's manifest here in the physical dimension, and I do believe it even affects your higher, your multidimensional self as well. Granted, I do believe that your higher self is always, knows the truth and is connected to the source of it all. So there's not as much fluctuation there because it's rooted in truth and love very strongly. But, our outer dimensional layers of our body, I think that can fluctuate. And so that's where people can sense your vibe, right? Like, you ever sense somebody's vibe? They haven't even said a word, but you just feel that either you don't like being around them, or you can feel that they're angry, or you can feel that they're sad. You can feel that there's something off about them. It's like everything about a person's consciousness is kind of imprinted in their vibration, and we pick up on that vibration. We're built to be able to pick up on these things. And it's a skill like any other skill. And so becoming more sensitive to the subtle energies gives you the ability, and it's a gift and a curse, because if you're super sensitive to the subtle energies, then AKA being an empath is another word for that. But then if you don't have clear energetic boundaries set up, or supportive boundaries, I liked that phrasing, that you've set up for yourself, then the energies of other people, because you're so empathetic and tuning into those frequencies, you allow it to affect your vibrational frequency. So we want to not do that because we don't want to get negatively influenced by other people. So that's a different topic, but everything relates with everything. So going into this, your frequency affects the way you feel, and your emotions affect your frequency, and shame is on the low end. And that's how, like this, where is it? Like, where is it? Oh, yeah. So this one, like, shame is right below death, or right above death. And that's where the body stops vibrating. So it's at 0. Does not mean the death of your consciousness, but we're talking about your body's frequency. So these are these are concerning emotions to be in because it's a slippery slope. And like we showed, it's a spiral. So you can go into an upward spiral, you can go into a downward spiral. If you find yourself ever starting to go in a downward spiral, here's a piece of crucial information that will help you stop it and change it into an upward spiral. You start going, so say you're experiencing something, you're ruminating over something, maybe you made a mistake, maybe something happened, maybe something non-preferable happened, and you feel like a part of you is missing, etc. It can be a painful experience, and then we actually get addicted to the pain. And that's what I found to be interesting, because when you create a new standard, say it's been kind of over the last few months, years, of where you've been feeling this emotion consistently, your body actually gets addicted to the way it feels because it's now its dominant default is the word I was looking for, default frequency. And so it wants continuity. Your mind and body want continuity. And so when you, even if it's a non-preferable frequency, even if it's a non-preferable state of being, it's what you are, what you know, it's what you're comfortable with. You're comfortably uncomfortable. So to change your way of being, is, especially in a radical, quick way, consciously we might say, like, of course I want to change, but your body and your subconscious may not agree, and there may be things that result in self-sabotaging behaviors, or you keeping yourself stuck in a cycle that are obviously not preferable in your conscious mind, but there could be subconscious things going on that are keeping that loop playing out. And it could be relating to addictive tendencies. Just to throwing that out there is something that I learned. We can go more into that in the future. But if you're experiencing that downward spiral, and where our attention goes, energy flows, right? So what we continue to focus on expands. So if you focus on the heartbreak or the failure or the rejection or the disappointment, that the more you focus on it, and I've been there. I've actually wanted to sit in it. I wanted, and that could be a good thing. These emotions are part of the human experience. It's not that these are all bad. And that's another thing. There is no good or bad. And I mentioned this in another video, but there is no good or bad in this life. It is all perspective. There is no by default or in the innate baseline nature of reality. There's nothing that is good, inherently good or bad. It just is. It is being. It is zero. It is events that happen. It is all happening, and it is. And it is only good or bad when we give meaning to it, when the mind gets involved. So these lower vibrational emotions that are here on this spiral, like I was saying, feeling unsupported, failure, hatred, rejection, heartache, these emotions are part of the human experience. So first off, don't feel like there's something necessarily wrong with you, or something's going terribly wrong because you're feeling these things. It is part of this experience to experience both the lows and the highs. And if you're willing to sit and feel these emotions instead of avoiding them and trying to, whether it's drugs, alcohol, anything that's given you like a dopamine addiction, distracting yourself in some way, if you're willing to not ruminate, but feel it, right? There's that phrase, that saying, you have to feel it in order to heal it. You need to allow it to move through your body. You need to allow your body to process the feelings that of these emotions when they come. And if you don't allow that flow to happen and you stop it, then it starts to build up. Now the pressure is building. And if you never allow yourself to feel it, like the best, in my opinion, the best way to go about this is when you feel it, then feel it then. Don't put it off. Don't shove it down. Like, do your best to allow yourself to feel whatever you feel in the moment and process it in the moment. So that way you kind of stay, it's like keeping your computer up to date. If you don't update it for years, then you have to wait like a whole day for it to go through all the updates. But if you just periodically, it's maintenance. It's maintenance. So we go up and down, and that's okay. But when the downs come, then you allow yourself to feel it, and you can sit in that for a minute, for a while, for as long as you feel like you need to. And that's where having discernment and self-awareness come in, and then also a connection to your higher self, your spiritual team, the Most High, whatever you want to view that as, but developing a higher spiritual guidance system and support system is a part of the process of coming through this on the other side. Because I understand it is easy to, like, on one hand, we can get addicted to the negative emotions, and we will go into that in the future. I gotta write that. Why we get addicted to negative emotions. Come on, voice to text. We get addicted to negative emotions. We can get addicted to positive ones too, don't get me wrong. But, so there's that aspect of it. But then there's also, it's finding the balance between sitting in it for too long, not long enough, or just right. And that's like riding a surfboard. That's a wave. And you got to find your balance. It's not just like you go out there and you shredding the waves on your first try. But it's all about getting to know yourself through this process. So when you allow yourself to feel these intense and possibly lower vibrational emotions, then you learn about yourself through that process. So it is overall a valuable thing to do in moderation, right? In balance, because you have to have a stopping point from the continuing of rumination and not making progress. So the lens that I took was like pulling the lessons out. And that's another great idea. Like, write that one down. Like, if you can just focus on pulling every lesson you can out of any situation, a mantra that is always in my mind, especially when challenging hard times hit, is, what is this here to teach me? What can I learn from this? Because my mindset is, if something shitty's happening, that sucks on its own, right? So I'm not just going to do nothing and basically completely accept defeat and then roll over, because there's still value to be gained from the experience. And that's part of why the experience came into your reality in the first place. That's why you manifested it, because you needed to learn a lesson. And oftentimes we have to learn the lessons the hard way in order to really learn them. We have to actually feel what the consequences are of our actions. But in my perspective, if you're experiencing it and it sucks, and it's just like, damn, this really sucks. Actually, like, this is shitty. This is not fun. I'm not having a good time. It's like, okay, well, I may as well take everything I can away from this so that I can get something from this. I may as well extract every single piece of gold that I can from this shitty situation to make it less shitty, to make it less terrible. I'm going to alchemize this. And when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking about alchemization, transmuting it. No, I was just like, this sucks so bad that I'm going to pull every lesson from this so that I can get at least some value from this experience. And then I can have those golden nuggets of lessons, pull and this comes from the reflection of it and why certain things happen and how, or how you showed up in certain ways and how that made other ripples in your reality and in the experiences with other people and relationships. But if you can pull out all the lessons you possibly can from a terrible, shitty experience, then that is the process of transmuting the pain into something higher vibrational, like a lesson, understanding, right? And so where is understanding in this? Well, we saw it on there earlier, but that's just a huge takeaway for me in my experiences is that if you can begin to just focus on the lessons, focus on what it is teaching you and what it's there, what you can pull from it, how you can better yourself, how you can adapt and adjust your behavior next time or understand yourself to a deeper degree so that way you don't make the same mistakes mistakes are there for you to learn from them, right? That's why they're there. But if you don't ever do that process of pulling out those lessons and integrating them, then you repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And that's when it turns into the downward spiral because you're not stopping the loop. You're not breaking the pattern. And then it spirals down. And then because you're not pulling in anything value from the situation, then you start to ruminate. You start to focus on the disappointment, and then you get discouraged. You feel worthless, humiliation, despair, and then it goes down into something you really don't want to be in. So in order to stop that downward spiral, one thing is focus on the lesson. Focus on what it is there to teach you and integrating that lesson. That's huge. That is huge. And then, like we said earlier, the balance between ruminating and being addicted to the negative feelings, or you're allowing yourself to feel it for long enough so that you can really know what that feels like and understand it. And there was times where I was allowing myself to feel it because I felt like I deserved it. So I allowed myself to sit in it for a long time because I felt like that's what I deserved. But I got to a point where it's like, okay, I think I did enough. I think I sat in those negative feelings of disappointment and anything on the depression spectrum of feeling, my self-esteem went lower for sure, the lowest it's been in a long time. Yeah. So it can get in those feelings, those vibrations, those lower vibrations distort your view of reality. So it's like quicksand. And that's what that downward spiral is. It's like a slide. It's like you can start slipping. So it is a serious matter, but the key lies in your mind and in your perspective and how you choose to look at any given situation. Yes, we want to give ourselves the time in order to feel the emotions. We don't want to stay there for too long because then we become slightly addicted to them, but then also we're unnecessarily staying in this state where And especially if you've already taken the lessons, and I stayed in this state for a long time because I wanted to make sure that I got all the lessons. And you may think you got all of them, but then more comes along. So, understanding when it's time to move on and move upward is a really personal choice. It's all up to you of when you feel like you're ready to do things differently. When you don't want to feel like this anymore, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. If you really don't want to feel like this anymore, then in order to stop that negative spiral, you rise above, you rise beyond, and you can do that through integrating those lessons, taking, okay, next time I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to work on because I identified I was behaving in that way. I was projecting in this way, and now I'm aware of that, and the first step is awareness. And you can't change anything unless you're aware of it. So becoming and allowing yourself to feel and reflect, you have to go through that phase in order to become aware of what you need to change. But once you do that, now you're moving. Now you're in a good spot to be able to shift things. And like we were saying earlier, these lower vibrational frequencies are part of the levels of your consciousness, of the human experience. It's all part of why we're here. We came here to experience both the lows and the highs. But if you don't allow yourself to feel those lows and then learn from them, then you can't go to the highs. And then you just end up coping and avoiding and trying to get cheap dopamine hits to feel better, and then you end up living in a middle ground of mediocrity, of lukewarm water. No. You're more than that. You're meant for more than that. You came here to experience more than that. So here's the tipping point. Here's the turning point into this upward spiral. I will show you. And I really like this spiral graphic. So we're going back to that. The tipping point or the turning point, right? We have fear, overwhelm, hopefulness, calm, optimism. I was going to say courage. Let's go to a different one. Right here. Pride and courage. So this is the more accurate one. That spiral was more of like a hodgepodge of different words that are all related. This one's more exact to what Dr. David Hawkins, this one's even more exact. So it's shifting from the survival paradigm, then using your mind, lessons, reason, integration, developing integrity. Then you're willing to go past the neutrality point into acceptance. That's the next stage. Then love. Then you get peace, joy, enlightenment. See how that goes? But there's certain checkpoints, there's certain milestones you need to go through in order to shift that into the upward spiral. So the biggest one, and self-awareness is the key. Like, you need to be aware of how you're thinking and feeling, and not just operating as like the more animalistic human egoic side of you. You start to be aware of your thoughts, aware of your emotions, and detach from them a little bit. Like, you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. I know it feels like you're having the experience, but if you slow down and center yourself and breathe and then start to notice all the things, the thoughts, the feelings, and observe them and observe how they make you feel. Once you start taking that introspective look at yourself and start to think about how you're thinking, how you were thinking, how you're thinking now, how something made you feel, and what it triggered within you. Once you start to make that separation and you start to examine yourself, then you start to be able to stop operating as unconsciously as you were in the lower vibrational frequencies. So if we go into here, And this is Power and Force. So I'm going to read that book too, by him, Power versus Force. But here's, and in a future video, we'll go into the higher, more positive ones. But I wanted to address this negative side of life more in this video, because it is so common these days, and we feel so disconnected as a society. Ever since social media and the internet became so prevalent, we're just, it's really challenging to navigate this world, especially socially, because our sense of community has waned so much. And I feel it too, and there's so much isolation in our Western culture, in our society, and that's part of the reason why I want to create this channel, because I know that there's other people out there that are like me, that want to have connection, that want to talk about cool concepts and ideas, and then how to apply them to your life and better ourselves, so that we can live the freaking most amazing life we possibly can, because we can only get one shot. Might as well make it good, make it count. So we work on ourselves, so we apply the lessons, so we seek to understand and to know thyself, so that we can make the most of this, and then be able to positively affect our surroundings and the other people in our life, and by extension, the rest of the world, especially through your own collective consciousness, our own collective consciousness. When one person changes, it actually affects the whole. So you get enough people to change themselves in a positive direction, you create a wave in the collective consciousness. So that's why doing personal development work and working on yourself and improving yourself is pretty much, at least in the beginning stages, the most important work you can do, because it starts at the changing the world starts at the individual level for that reason. Because if everyone were to focus on healing themselves, healing the parts that make them angry, fearful, and healing those things that then lead into the really negative things, then we start to dissolve the lower spiral manifestations in our society if we can use things like love and reason to develop understanding and acceptance, and then we create peace. But starts at the individual level. So if you're here this far and you're hanging out with me on this, I really appreciate you being here. I just wanted to say that. You're freaking awesome, and thank you so much for tuning into this. We're going to go a little bit more, and then I'm going to wrap the video up. Sound good? Cool. So, as I mentioned before, shame, one of the lowest things. Lowest, it's a 20 and 0 is dead. And this is on a scale where your higher self, which is connected to the Godhead, is 1,000. So this is on a 1,000-point scale. When we are on the negative spiral, lower vibrational spiral, in order to stop it, it's all about noticing what you're feeling. Self-reflection, noticing how you're feeling, and not just operating unconsciously, but becoming consciously aware. That is the key. And then you can use intentional moving of your focus, your spotlight of attention, your focus, where your attention goes, energy flows, where you choose to place your focus. Are you focused on ruminating on the terrible thing that happened, or the fact that you're disappointed, that you don't feel good, or you're depressed? I'm depressed. That is sending more energy to I'm depressed, instead of just looking at how can I get out of this situation? How can I not be here anymore? How can I pull every lesson I can from the past? How can I develop myself? How can I raise my frequency? Those focuses will begin to take you in a new direction, instead of just focusing on basically the past. And I understand it's easy to become like living, like you feel like you're living in the shadow of the past, feel like you can't let go of the past. And we'll do more on that in the future. Because a part of you is in the past. And it's not that you don't want to let go of the past, you don't want to let go of that part of yourself. But something to realize is that part of yourself is already gone. It's just in a memory. It's an echo that is now influencing your current self. And you can choose to change the way you live at any moment. You can take the script and rip it up and choose to live an entirely new way right now. All it takes is deciding to do it. And then following through. And then making sure that you're giving good information into your mind, because whatever you're putting into your mind is creating the fabrications of your reality. Like Jim Rohn says, if you are to dump a bale of trash in your mind every day, can you imagine coming up with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. So you have to stand guard at the door of your mind. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And don't just let anything into your mind, especially if it is your own thought, but other thoughts, information. Don't just consume anything. Be selective. Stand guard at the door of your mind, because that creates the fabrications of your reality. Because what you consume becomes your reality. You become what you consume. So noticing, right? Noticing what you're feeling. And so much of it just stems from fear. Fear is like the main derivative, or top. And then everything is a derivative of fear, especially in the lower vibrational spectrum. This is what I'm talking about. But when you experience a desire to change, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I desire to change. I desire to move through this and move beyond this. I actually don't want to sit here anymore. That is great. Now, you might feel angry. You might feel, and some of these, disappointment, rejection, these other emotions may still come in. But if you still hold on to that desire, and even if you do have anger, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot, because that anger is so close to this turning point of this line, which goes up into the upward spiral. So you can use the anger as fuel, as motivation to act, to do something. And that is something that has more energy. See, we have 150 versus if you're sitting around in apathy, you don't have much motivation. So that's a really slippery slope and a dangerous place to be in. So if you're in that place, if you're in the guilt, shame, apathy, despair, blame, humiliation, you need to get yourself into different spaces. Allow yourself to connect with people. Allow people to go talk to different people. And you need to get your energy up however you can. And then because you're the low frequency of the emotions you're sitting in is affecting your view of reality, and it's distorting your lens of the world. So you need to realize that your perception, and all of our perceptions are subjective, right? But specifically when you're in the low vibrational emotions, your perspective of reality, like that's an idea you need to hold on to, is that your perspective of reality is distorted. So you can't trust everything that you believe or think in your mind. You can't trust every thought. You can't trust every feeling. You need to be very particular about what you choose to act on, and then just develop the self-awareness and start to observe, where am I at on this scale of consciousness? If I'm in these lower areas in the red zone, you need to get out of your self-fulfilling prophecy. You need to get out of your own feedback loop where you're just talking to yourself in your head and you continue to go the same route, the same thought patterns, the same feelings. You need to break the pattern. However you can, break the pattern. Have different conversations. Talk about different things, even if it is about the thing that is bothering you. But talk about it with different people and bring it into being completely honest. And then maybe it's about fear. Maybe you have a desire. Maybe you're disappointed, right? Maybe you're angry. You're hateful. That's all good. That's fine. But you're being honest and open and accepting of yourself with how you're feeling. Now, you start to begin to make the change into the upward spiral is when you're moving beyond those. You give yourself maybe you're not at the place of giving yourself unconditional love yet, but we're working towards unconditional love. But maybe that's not even something you want to think about right now, because you're in this zone, and so I get it. You can use the anger, you can use the desire, and then you can use the fear of like, I'm worried this is not going to be working out too good. You can use those as motivation to act and to change. Then you have courage. I'm going to come back to pride, but then you move into courage. And it's having courage to act, courage to do something new, courage to break the cycle and break the loop. And when you can take that inspired action and you have a sense of courage within your heart to do something, to make a change, to try something new. And even if it doesn't work out the first time, to try again, to keep trying because you recognize that you have the desire to change and to go up into the higher levels of consciousness and expressing and perceiving reality, your vibrational frequency. Courage is the key, because if you can step into the vibration of courage and then take an action, you're on your way up. You are on your way up, my friend. And then you're going into neutrality, and that's where you can start to be integrating acceptance. Shit happened. Can't change it. And that could take some time. I spent an entire year, at least 1 to 2 years, just trying to integrate the lesson of acceptance. I freaking fought that so hard. And I'm not like I'm not on the Buddha level of acceptance, but I have come to know that state of consciousness and that frequency more than I ever have in my life. So I think that's progress. But that's neutrality. Okay, well, obviously I'm wrong. Acceptance is up here. Neutrality, see, this is why I need to read the book, because then I'll be able to explain this. See, I'm explaining this like I've read the book. And I have studied this before, but I need to actually read the book. So I'm going to order that and I will read it, and then we'll be able to revisit this in the future. But I guess neutrality is just like you feel about it, right? You feel neutral about it, not necessarily like you accept it. Maybe there still is like you don't like that XYZ has happened, but you're not taken down by those emotions anymore. You're kind of just in this the lukewarm zone, like we're talking about, the mediocre zone. But then you have willingness to try, to keep trying. Your optimum. You're getting somewhat inspired by different ideas. You move into acceptance. Then you're integrating lessons, reason, understanding. Then you move into being able to love. And you're stepping into opening up your heart center, and even no matter what happened, you can give it love. And that's what learning what unconditional love is. And then you're moving up in the frequency and you go into joy and peace and enlightenment. So we will cover that on greater detail in the future, but I really did want to give that bit about how if you're in the low end of the map of consciousness, it is going to be okay. You just need to hold on and take it one day at a time, one step on the path at a time. And just know that if you keep going and keep taking the steps, and if you keep trying to do just one thing different each day, one thing better, look at things, be aware of things, rewatch this video. I talked about a lot of the good ideas of what to do, but if you just continue on that, and it helps to remind yourself, because we get back into the pattern of the thought process. So you need to consume ideas that will trigger different thought processes that break the loop. So what you consume is a great tool, and it's almost like that's how you can put something and create interference in the cycle. You put something into the water that disrupts the current and the flow, and then it's a reminder, and it triggers a cascade of different thought processes that were not involved in the loop of the rumination of the negative feelings. So you become what you consume. Put in good ideas in your mind, put in positive ideas, and seek to understand and integrate the lessons. These are the most valuable ideas that I can give you if you are in these more lower frequency emotions. And keep in mind, like we said before, it's all part of the human experience. It's what we're here for. Even though it does suck when you're going through it, after you go through it, it may be years, but if you keep pushing and you keep going through it, at some point you realize that it was all there to teach you. And then you'll be grateful for it. You really will. And that sounds insane that you would ever think that when you're actually going through it. It's like, no. You can't even conceive that idea. But that's the nature of life, is when you step into those higher vibrational emotions, it's literally a different reality. It's a different perception, different reality. So, and we get to experience both. How amazing is that? We get to experience such depth in this experience. So, it's pretty cool. I love life. Even though it can be challenging sometimes, I've learned to try to welcome that challenge and embrace the challenge, because that's what we are here for. So hopefully you found some value in this video. I just want to go back to this one more time. So if we're revisiting it, so we got to the neutral line. Curiosity, that's a good one. And then you move upward. And working towards integrity. And we'll have to do more videos on that in the future. And there's so much here, right? There's so much here. But hopefully that was a good concept for you. If you have heard of that before and you want to add anything to those ideas, please feel free to add anything into the comments that might be useful for other people to know in regards to this stuff. Also, if you enjoyed the video, if you took something away from it, please put the takeaway in the comments, so that way other people can see that takeaway. And when other people notice how other people are absorbing content, it can help them to not only question what did I take away personally, but then they like, oh yeah, that is a good takeaway. And then now you just anchored a new piece of information that they may not have took with them, but now they are, because you decided to share it. So please share, please comment, engage. I would really appreciate it, and it would help yourself too, to be able to put it into words and not just let the idea float away again. So writing something down anchors it into reality, and then you remember you wrote it down. It's much more likely you'll change and integrate it and use that information. So yeah, I think, man, that this video didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen. I kind of got got into a little bit of a rant about the low end, but I feel passionate about that because I want people to know that if you're in those low states, it's okay. You're allowed to feel that way. And it can be really, really challenging, but just know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You just got to take it one day at a time and keep going and trust that you will come out of this on the other side. So if you're going through something like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to give you some ideas and words of encouragement that'll help you move through it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Please like and share the video. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It is free and it does help the channel grow. Yeah. So it was my pleasure to serve you today with these messages. I love you, and I will see you in the next video. See you next time. Take care.